Today on the Locked On Blues podcast, I am joined by a very special guest, Andrew Chelney, host of Chel Squared, a genius when it comes to all things Rangers because the St. Louis Blues are taking on the New York Rangers tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. Should be a fun game, lots to talk about. Make sure you stay tuned.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Locked On Blues podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, and your number one source for daily Blues content. I'm Josh Hyman, and I am joined by the man who texted Brett Hull his Warzone game, Andrew Chelney. Andrew, thanks for being here.
Yeah, no problem. And I did do that. Yeah, he never responded, which I feel like is a good thing. But
we talked about it. We talked about that last time Andrew was on the show, so make sure you check out that episode.
I accidentally texted Brett Hull I had like 18 kills in a Warzone game once, and
Brett Hull deserves to know. Brett Hull deserves to know if you drop an 18 piece.
I guess he does. Yeah, he didn't say anything. So I mean, I guess he was just speechless by how great of a game I had or something.
All right, lots to talk about today. Two of the hottest teams in the NHL clash tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. Rangers Blues, lots to talk about. But first, want to thank anyone and everyone out there who has made Locked On Blues your first listen, because we are free and available on all podcast platforms. So thanks for making us part of your daily routine. All right, Andrew. So Blues and Rangers, two teams that don't meet a lot. I'm sure Blues fans, myself included, haven't caught a lot of Rangers games. So I guess right off the bat, what has made the Rangers tick this season? If there's one thing that has caused them to have such a strong record, this late into the season, what would that be?
I mean, it's literally one person. It's Igor Shesterkin. I mean, this guy, every time I watch him, I am speechless just watching this man play. He's unbelievable. I think he's the best goalie in the world right now. And if he's not, he should be the Vezina leader. He should be the Hart leader, because without him, the Rangers are nowhere, because they can't score 5-on-5. They're lethal on the power play, but they're lacking scoring. They just are not a very dangerous team as of right now. I mean, we'll see what happens at the deadline. They will be buyers, I would imagine. But right now, it's Igor, and that's number one, number two, number three. I mean, then you got Panarin, you got Chris Kreider scoring 34 goals, a lot of them on the power play, which again, Rangers are top 5 on the power play. Like if you take penalties against this team, they will hurt you, and they will hurt you bad. But at 5-on-5, they don't have the puck a lot. So if you can control pace, which Vancouver did last game, and they dumpstered the Rangers 5-on-5. I mean, this was the Vancouver Canucks show. Georgiev wasn't great either. So if you can control the puck in the offensive zone, against Shesterkin is the best goalie in the world right now. I think so. So it's going to be really tough to score. But I think if you have possession of the puck and you don't take a lot of penalties, you're probably gonna have a good time.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like it's really like a matchup of kind of two different success stories. The Blues have just been propelled by 4 lines of offense that can score at any given time. In their last 7 games, they've won 6 of them, and in 4 of those 6 games, they've scored at least 5 goals, and then the other 2, they pitched a shutout or allowed 1 goal. So it really is going to be interesting to see, such a high-powered Blues offense, and with a pretty poor Blues defense, we've been talking about it all season, match up against like a Rangers team who is, built from the back end out, going to have a really tough time scoring if you're the St. Louis Blues. But the flip side of that is the Rangers maybe not the most dangerous 5-on-5 team. So I really think it's going to be kind of a true neutral, and special teams could be the difference maker for this game. Now, the flip side of that I wanted to ask is, if there's one thing that's made the Rangers tick, being their goaltending, what's the one thing that's held them back this year? The biggest Achilles heel, where maybe in a 7-game playoff series, you're going to look back and be like, yep, that's the reason they didn't make it as far. That's the reason they didn't go as far as they could have this year.
Oh, yeah, their depth scoring easily, because with Sammy Blais, St. Louis Blues legend Sammy Blai out for a while. I think he tore his ACL very early on in the season, so he's out for a very long time. I think he'll hopefully be back by the playoffs, maybe. But with that kind of thing, you just never know. Cabo Caco hurt his arm. I think he's out for at least another 3 or 4 weeks at minimum.
Damn.
So that puts a blow to your offense, right? So you're playing Dryden Hunt top 6 minutes. You're playing Greg McKegg third line minutes. I mean, that's just not the kind of names that you want to hear and you're in your lineup to try to produce some kind of offense. I mean, Greg McKegg is a black hole offensively and also defensively, and he gets third line minutes for.
He's got a really fun name though.
That's right, Gregory McKeggery is a fun name.
I like that one.
But he doesn't do much out there on the ice. So when he's playing on your third line, and you have Dryden Hunt, who was pretty okay early on in the season. The Rangers were kind of hoping that he would provide some depth scoring, but now that he's in the top 6 with injuries, I mean, he's just kind of out of his element, it looks like, and he's not providing much either. So when you have those holes and you're trying to plug and play, it's right now it's not working, and depth scoring is a real concern for them right now.
Is it like a Boston Bruins of years past situation where you got those guys that you go to, the Kreiders and the Panarins, and when they're on the ice, you're oh yeah, we're gonna score, and then after that it's just nothing, or is it even those guys? Is it still a struggle at 5-on-5?
It kind of depends, yeah. I mean, at 5-on-5, there's still struggles even when Panarin and Zibanejad are on the ice. Of course, they're more dangerous on the ice than when Dryden Hunt and Greg McKegg are on, but they do a lot of damage in the power play, and at 5-on-5. They kind of sometimes do a little too much with the puck. They try to pass it to each other way too much. And Panarin, for some reason, this season has been way too passive. He hasn't shot the puck nearly as much as he used to. I mean, he's still over a point a game. I mean, my guy dominates whenever he's on the ice, but he doesn't take the shot as nearly as perhaps like he should, or maybe he should be a little bit more selfish because he's always trying to pass it out, trying to make the pretty play, the highlight play, and it hasn't seemed to be working this season, and that's another issue. I mean, that's at the bottom of the list in terms of Rangers' concerns, but it's still something to take a note of. Panarin, for whatever reason, this season will look to pass. He won't really shoot the puck, even though he has a rocket of a shot. So that's definitely a problem. But yeah, I mean, if Panarin, Zibanejad, and Kreider don't have it going on, the rest of the team definitely won't either. So that's been a big red flag for them as well.
I'll tell you what, it sounds like the Rangers could maybe use a guy by the name of Pavel Buchnevich. One of the most exciting stories of the St. Louis Blues this season, and who better to talk about Buch with than Andrew Chelney himself, someone who's probably pretty stung about that trade still. So we're gonna get into that and then sort of transition into more of the individual matchups in tomorrow night's game. But first, wanted to tell you guys about our good friends over at BetOnline. If you or anyone thinks that Pavel Buchnevich is going to have a revenge game and put up some monster stats, you got to put your money where your mouth is and check out BetOnline. Football might be over for the season, but basketball is in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props, to where the next fired coach is going to land, BetOnline.net is the #1 spot for all your sports betting needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sports scores, podcasts, and news this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline.net is your source for hockey, boxing, and UFC odds right to the Olympic coverage and information. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action. BetOnline, where the game starts, and we'll be right back. All right, Andrew. So before we get into the painful end of it, and that is what you miss in Pavel Buchnevich, let's take a few seconds to talk about Sammy Blai. I know he hasn't played in a while, but he was a decent player with us, and I'm sure there are Blues fans out there that are like, I wonder what Sammy Blai's been up to. So in the limited experience you had with Sammy Blai, what did you see out of him? Did he fit what the Rangers wanted? And does it soften the blow of losing someone like Pavel Buchnevich based on what you've seen from him so far?
Well, the answer is no, because Pavel Buchnevich is a terrific top 6 player. Sammy Blai is not that. I mean, Sammy Blai did not score a goal. I think he played 14 games before the injury. He didn't score a goal. I think he had four assists. So, it's tough because when you're traded to a new team, you need time to learn the system, to fit with the guys on your new team, learn, get the timings right. So it's tough for a new player always to gel right off the bat with new teammates, a new environment, new system, new all that. With that being said, I mean, he looked good for stretches. There were times where he looked like somebody that could fit into a top 6 role. Again, he didn't score a goal, but it'd be like that sometimes. But again, and he got hit into the boards and tore, I think, his ACL, and that's it. So it's in the limited experience I've had with seeing him, he looked okay. It's definitely not Pavel Buchnevich, I'll tell you that. But he's definitely an NHLer. I'll say that. I'll say that. So I just kind of hope that he gets back as soon as he can, because right now this team needs him and they need him bad.
Yeah, I definitely. It was real tough seeing that happen, especially I got to root for Sammy Blai, and as much as that trade was a blowout, it's not like the Sabres or Riley shit where I'm like, haha, you guys got fleeced. It was like I don't mind the Rangers. I kind of wanted you guys to do well based off of that, but it was tough to see. So I really hope that he does get back and plays a valuable role for you guys. In terms of Pavel Buchnevich, though, where do you start? I mean, I feel like he's so good at everything. Um, what's the one aspect of his game that you miss the most? Because like I said, some nights he'll go out, he'll put up 2 goals and have like 8 shots. Other nights he'll put up 3 assists, 4 hits, and play great defensively. It really feels like he can do it all.
Yeah, I mean he's definitely the Swiss Army knife of top 6 players, right? He's not just good at offense. He's not just good at defense. He's a really good two-way player. And that trade was my villain origin story, because for the Rangers, like, I don't understand. I still don't get to this day how you trade a bona fide top 6 player for a second round pick and somebody who is not a top 6 player. Sammy Blais is a decent player. Is he Pavel Buchnevich? No. So that second round pick, like, for a team that their goal is to not just make the playoffs, but go far in the playoffs, to trade a top 6 player away and get not that in return was just a very strange deal. Now, the money that they spent on Blais and Barclay Goodrow could have just been spent to Buchnevich. So they gave Goodrow literally a lifetime contract. Blais not playing. Goodrow has his moments. There are times where he does well, and he can score once in a while and has good defensive plays once in a while. But there are games where I don't notice him on the ice a single time. He's there. He's on the roster. I'm sure he's skating. He's getting his cardio in, but that's about it. So Pavel Buchnevich is a major blow to not have him on the roster right now. And I'm sure St. Louis loves the guy. And I'm sure he's doing phenomenal with them, because at the end of the day, losing Blais is tough, but getting Buchnevich probably softens that blow a little bit, I would say.
Do you think it's a ripple effect maybe from the Blues winning the Stanley Cup? Because the belief in the league is that when a team goes on a run and wins the Stanley Cup, everybody else kind of takes notice, like, oh, wait, that's the formula. That's how you win. And obviously you can't recreate what the Lightning did. The Lightning have a super team, or the closest thing we'll ever see to a super team in the NHL, given the hard cap. So the last replicable formula is the St. Louis Blues. You're not going to go out and build yourself a Tampa Bay Lightning team. You can't just stumble into that. But you can go out and get yourself gritty players, guys that can, bang bodies and be tough when the playoffs come around. Do you think the Rangers were basically saying, hey, it worked for the Blues, and Buchnevich is great, but he's not pushing the needle into that status. We want grit. We want tenacity.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what the front office made it out to be, even though Buchnevich is a gritty player, even though he does hit and he stands up for his teammates, and he's exactly the guy that Rangers want out of their players. For some reason,
he's kind of a rich man, Sammy Blai, to be honest.
There's a lot of different reasons that I can, pretend to think that, this is exactly why they traded Pavel Buchnevich. But ultimately, I don't know. And most Rangers fans that I've talked to, a couple people around the league that I've talked to, don't really know either. I mean, the idea is, okay, well, Blais is a bigger, a tougher guy. Okay, but Buchnevich hits, which is what you want. He stands up for his teammates constantly, which is what you want. And he also is really good defensively, which is what you want. And he scores a lot of goals, which is what you want. So for the life of me, I do not understand that trade for the Rangers. It will continue to haunt me for as long as I live, because it doesn't make any sense. It legitimately doesn't make any sense. And using that money on Blais and Barclay Goodrow, okay, like, he has cups. I get it. He has rings. But tangibly on the ice, game in and game out, he doesn't provide what you think he does. Whatever Chris Drury thinks he provides, it's not it. So I mean, yeah, he has rings. Okay, cool. But unless those rings go out and score goals or do anything of value on the ice, then I don't know what the point of it was.
It's funny because
I don't understand it. So that trade is, like I said, my villain origin story.
yeah, it's funny because I'm pretty sure as the trade broke, I DM'd it to you on Twitter, and you had the exact same mentality that you have now. And you hadn't even seen Blais play in a Rangers uniform, and we hadn't seen Buchnevich play in a Blues uniform. And the fact that you're still like saying the exact same things, it's like yeah, should have seen this coming. I thought the same thing when the trade went through.
We're
almost
trying
wanted
to figure out the guy who did this. Like that's the meme. Like, it's just it doesn't make any sense.
The Eric Andre meme. Why would we do? Who did this? Who possibly got rid of our best player? Oh, exactly. All right. That being said, there is a game to talk about tomorrow night. So in the third segment, going to be doing a reoccurring segment on this show. If you guys listening should know, maybe Andrew doesn't know. I'm going to put him on the spot. Should be fun for that. Talk about, like I said, some of the individual matchups, predictions for tomorrow night's game. Should be fun. Don't go anywhere. But first, I want to tell you guys about our good friends over at Rock Auto. With the ever-increasing number of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand their warehouse happens to carry? When you have computers with access to rockauto.com at home and in your pocket, you can save time and money when using Rock Auto. Why spend up to 30%, 50%, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership? Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. Plus, they're a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. So go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck, and write Locked On in their How Did You Hear About Us box so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com. And we'll be right back. All right, Andrew. So every time we do a game preview on this podcast, we do a little segment called Locked On Player of the Game. Basically, that comes down to who is the guy that has a little extra pep in their step for this game. Maybe not just the guy that, has the most points or has been the best player all season, but someone who tomorrow's game means a little bit extra for, in the sense that maybe they get that little extra motivation, or that if they play well, that'll tip the scales for. Usually it's the Blues, but now, for the first time ever, we're going to get a locked-on player of the game for the opponent. So, Andrew, who is your pick for locked-on player of the game for the New York Rangers, and why?
So, I mean, I could go with the easy one and say Shesterkin just because he's kind of the best player in the world right now. But I'll say Mika Zibanejad for one reason. And I saw a report earlier today that Zibanejad talked to reporters, and he basically said, like, he misses Buchnevich a lot, and he misses, playing with him, and it's gonna be fun to play against him, right? So I take that as, okay, Zibanejad's gonna score at least something. He's gonna be on the score sheet tomorrow, I would imagine, because you can't just say something like that and then just not show up against Buchnevich and the Blues. So I can go the easier route. I could say Adam Fox, I could say Shesterkin, I could say Panarin, but I think I'll go Zibanejad here because I think, like I said, Zibanejad has something. He misses his buddy, and I think he's gonna show up tonight.
I like that. I think, like you said, the Rangers kind of rely on a few guys to get their scoring going, and Mika Zibanejad, flow and all, is a guy that produces a lot of offense for them. I think that's a pretty solid pick, and my pick's obvious. It's Pavel Buchnevich.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. I could dance around and be like, I think Tyler Bozak.
Whatever the over is on his points tomorrow, slam it, because you're gonna make money. I promise you.
Pavel Buchnevich is a guy that plays with a ton of emotion. Saw that early in the season. He got suspended in like his 5th game ever with the Blues for a headbutt. Something you really don't see a lot in the NHL. Plays with his heart on his sleeve. Gets really fired up, as we've seen. And I would imagine, a team that maybe doubted him in the New York Rangers or didn't want to pay him, whatever, what have you. He probably knows more than we do in terms of why he was shipped out. Probably a little extra emotion on his end tomorrow. Now, will that emotion turn into him getting another suspension? Maybe.
Probably not.
Probably not. Probably not. The chances are that emotion will be channeled into his play on the ice, playing angry, playing aggressive. And for that reason, I truly think he's going to go off, because as weird as it is to say, he's been almost kind of a quiet player, a quiet producer on the Blues this season, because with the likes of Jordan Kyrou, flying up and down the ice, and the defense being as poor as it is, Buchnevich is a guy that's just shown up every single night, giving you his all. And we haven't talked about him nearly as much as we should because of that, because it's so much easier to talk about the peaks and the valleys. When Jordan Kyrou goes out and scores highlight reel goals as a 23-year-old, of course you're going to want to talk about him. Or when the defense and the goaltending allows 7 goals to the Montreal Canadiens, or not the Montreal Canadiens, the Calgary Flames, or loses to the Montreal Canadiens, you're going to want to talk about that. So Buchnevich is a guy that has somehow flown under the radar on this podcast, I think, to Blues fans in general. This is because we haven't really seen, a huge game for him. We haven't seen a game where he's been far and away the number one storyline. Anytime that Buchnevich shows up, it's always like, he also produces a lot of offense, and the Blues score like 6 goals. So he's not the only one with a couple of points. I think tomorrow might be the first time where, if you haven't really paid attention, if you haven't been listening to this podcast, I think if you watch this Blues game tomorrow, you'll be like, whoa, Buchnevich might be the best player on this team. I've been saying it all season that Pavel Buchnevich is our best forward. And I think tomorrow is hopefully going to be the time where that comes to fruition.
Yeah, I mean, Buchnevich is a guy that can do so many little things right that don't end up in the score sheet. Like he will make that outlet pass, that tough pass that a lot of players can't make. He'll make that defensive play at the blue line to stop an odd man rush. Like he's that kind of guy that will do that night in and night out. And those kind of things don't make the stat sheet. They'll make, the Athletics analytics charts because people keep track of those things.
Right.
But in terms of raw stats, like, is that a goal? No, it's not a goal. It's an assist. I mean, it could be, but probably not, right? But those kinds of plays throughout the course of a game are very important. And Buchnevich is very good at making those plays. So, yeah, I mean, he's not the most flashy or over-the-top player, but he does the plays that wins you games. And that is a really important aspect of Buchnevich's game that people don't talk about because, again, they're not making SportsCenter's top 10. They're not making the highlight reel. But these are crucial plays that if you want to win a hockey game, you have to make. And Buchnevich is really good at them.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Like, I don't think I could be wrong, but like thinking back, like I don't think there's been a single time where Buchnevich has done something like, oh man, that's a highlight reel play, and that's not a knock on him. There are players, like I said, the Jordan Kyrous of the world, where almost every goal they score could be a highlight reel play because he's fast as heck. Pavel Buchnevich is kind of the opposite. He's just a very good fundamental player that, yeah, I feel like if you're not, recording a podcast 5 days a week, it's pretty easy to kind of forget just how good he is. Like, yeah, he's put up the points. Yeah, he's played well with that Russian line that was so dominant. But like you said, the little things are just kind of takes him above and beyond to that next level. I'm stoked. I think he's going to have a big game, and I've always had a bit of a soft spot for the Rangers. I think any team that plays in Madison Square Garden is just, part of me wants them to do well. As much as like, oh, from Boston, I should root against New York teams. It's cool. It's cool. So I'm excited. It should be a really fun game. Uh-oh, look out, Andrew. They're coming for you.
Yeah.
They're coming for you.
I live next to a hospital. I didn't think you could hear that, but yeah. There's ambulances constantly. Yeah, I've lived here for virtually my entire life, so I don't notice them. Everybody that I have I talk to, whether it be on Zoom for work or for for a podcast or whatever, they're always just like, is that where do you live? I'm like, oh, okay, well, right across the street from me is a hospital, so I promise you, nothing nefarious going on.
Fair enough. All right, we are reaching the end of today's episode. So, Andrew, I will turn the floor over to you. Promote all your socials, your podcast. Like I said, he's got a great show that he does, covers the whole league, has amazing guests that he texts about his Warzone scores. So, floor is yours. Take it away.
I appreciate it. My podcast is Chel Squared. You can find that wherever you find your podcast. Yeah, I do have some decent guests. I've had the aforementioned Brett Hull on the show before. I've had Pat LaFontaine, John Forsland. I mean, I've had some pretty cool people on, and they give me a good amount of time too. So we have fun. At Chel Squared on Twitter, Facebook, all that. At Chelney Andrew is my personal Twitter, at CHELNEY Andrew. That's my personal Twitter. Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of fun on the show. I cover the Blues. I cover how many teams is it? 32 now? 48, 96. I cover every team, all of them. So we have a lot of fun, and new team every week. The last episode, I think I had Jim Jackson on, who's the voice of the Flyers, and This was back during the Super Bowl, so he
Ooh.
was not a fan
Hmm.
of the Buffalo Bills not getting the ball there. So he was pretty riled up
Fair
there at the
enough.
end. So
Fair enough.
yeah, we have fun. But I reach to the top shelf here for guests. I don't skimp here. If we're getting a guest, it's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, same here. Clearly, as you can tell by your presence today.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh
Okay.
god, yeah, it should be a fun one, but that is all the time we have for you guys today. Want to thank everyone so much for listening and for watching. If you're on YouTube, I am crystal clear today as I have a brand new webcam. Hopefully, you guys noticed that because that is a precursor of something to come. We've been keeping things a little hush hush, but I'm pretty sure in about 30 minutes, you guys are gonna know, an hour or so tonight. Finally, we've been teasing it a lot. Andrew knows, he's keeping a little grin.
That's right. That's
He's
right.
not telling you guys, but yeah,
Not
stay
saying a
tuned.
word.
Big stuff in the work here at the Locked On Blues podcast. So like I said, thank you so much for listening. Make sure you hit that follow or subscribe button on whatever podcast platform you're listening to us on. Leave a review if you're feeling so kind. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Locked On Blues. Hit that notification bell. That way, whenever we upload a video, like I said, usually before the podcast goes live on various listening platforms, if you want to be the first ones to hear what we got to say, check us out there on YouTube. A little bit less edited, a little bit more raw, a little bit more fun. Yeah, follow us on all of our socials at Locked On Blues on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. Follow me on Twitter at Josh Hyman NHL. Like Andrew said, follow him over at Chel Squared and Chelney. Andrew, thanks so much for listening, everybody. And as always, let's go Blues.